Today, I'm joined by Andy Taylor, the VP of Research at Tinuiti. Andy is focused on creating unique views into digital marketing performance based on 3 billion in annual ad spend under management. His work has been featured in major publications such as the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and the New York Times, among many others. So, Andy, hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Carly. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Excited to have you.
Absolutely.
Feel free to go ahead and start to take it away and share your screen with us.
Sure, will do.
Awesome, Andy, and I can see your screen, so you're all good to go. And to kick off things in the chat, would love to hear from our brands today on who is using an agency. Agency for anything I saw in the chat. Anything you're using an agency for, your SEO, TikTok, anything. Feel free just to put it in the chat, and then Andy, go ahead and take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, so today I'll be walking through the how the Cyber 5 really shook out from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday for advertisers, and what that might mean for what we expect throughout the rest of the year for the holiday shopping season, which is obviously a core period for many of you guys out there and your brands. Before that, just to kind of reiterate what Carly kind of already told you guys, I'm the VP of Research at Tinuiti, where I'm very fortunate to be able to wield more than $3 billion in ad spend under management annually to help understand, what kind of trends are impacting our brands and how best we can help those brands get the most out of their advertising and marketing efforts, especially during the busy Q4 holiday shopping season. Now, in terms of what types of points we'll hit today, first we're going to start off with some data around consumer intentions heading into the holiday shopping season. We actually surveyed over 1,000 U.S. holiday shoppers back in August to get a sense for how they intended to shop this holiday shopping season in order to better help our advertisers prepare for the different stretches that might be most important to them. Next, we'll hit how the shopping season has played out for advertisers so far. Obviously, we're already 2 months into Q4, so we already have some performance data, including from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, on how things have performed and what's really worked well. And then lastly, we'll go into how we think things will shake out from here, which I think, in terms of really understanding the back part of the holiday shopping season, is certainly going to rely on looking back at your historical data for your brand. Before I dive into that, I'm about to hit you guys with a ton of graphs and facts, and I know that that can get kind of in the weeds and deep pretty quick. So I did want to start off with the fact that while that stuff really gets me excited, and I hope it's also very important, exciting for you as well. The my connection to this holiday shopping season is a lot deeper than just retail and advertising factoids. I don't know how many of you guys out there have ever purchased a house with the specific idea of how big of a Christmas tree you can buy and where you would put it, front and center in your mind. But that was probably one of the five most important factors for us when we found a place to live. And this is my 5'6" wife standing next to our giant Christmas tree this year. Beyond advertising and retail, I hope the holiday shopping season is off to a good start for you and your family, and hope it continues that way. And so with that, I will dive into what we thought consumers were going to do heading into the holiday shopping season. And I think this is a really important question this year in particular because of all of the concerns surrounding the economy. Obviously, there were a lot of indicators in terms of consumer confidence really starting to get pretty bad as shoppers saw rising prices at the grocery store and reports of impending recession and all of that stuff playing out. But when we surveyed folks in August, we actually found that despite those economic concerns, they weren't that pessimistic heading into the holiday shopping season. When asked how much consumers plan to spend this year versus last year, about the same number answered that they would spend more this holiday season as answered that they would spend less. And a plurality of those respondents answered that they were going to spend about the same as they did in 2021. And looking at kind of the breakdown and the actual dollar value of what folks intended to spend, over 60% expected to spend over $250 and 10% expected to spend more than $1,000. So kind of going into the holiday shopping season, we were aware that despite all of these negative reports and inflation and issues surrounding the economy, we knew that a lot of consumers were still optimistic about their ability to spend this holiday shopping season. And looking at when those consumers expected to make purchases, uh, we wanted to get a better sense of how the pandemic specifically impacted consumers in terms of when they felt they needed to kick off their holiday shopping and other pieces of their holiday shopping puzzle. And certainly the number one answer for how have pandemic era inventory and shipping issues affected plans was that they would start shopping earlier. Uh, However, 46% still didn't plan on starting before Thanksgiving. And so, while those issues that arose in 2020 that affected how quickly consumers could get products and which products were still available late in the holiday shopping season have kind of pushed consumers to think about shopping earlier, it's still the case that the core holiday shopping season for many folks still kicks off around Thanksgiving or even later. And so we still knew to expect kind of a burst of consumer activity here surrounding the Cyber 5 week. And that was even further iterated by a question when we asked, how much of your holiday shopping do you expect to do between Thanksgiving and the following Monday? With nearly half of consumers saying that they intended to do at least half of their shopping over this 5 day stretch. So, again, you know, we obviously have retailers and folks like Amazon kicking off the holiday shopping season earlier every year by pulling those discounts earlier in the holiday shopping season. But at the same time, consumers have been conditioned over the last couple of decades to expect really good prices and really good discounts on key days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And so when you look at another question from the same survey that we ran, asking, what the factors that most influenced holiday purchase decisions were, price and sales and discounts were the top two answers. And so when you put those facts together, it makes a lot of sense that consumers would wait until the key stretch between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday to see what kind of deals they could get, especially considering there was, some trepidation on the part of consumers on worrying about the economy. To look for those deals during this key stretch. And so now that we're, obviously well into Q4, we have some idea of how that holiday shopping season has played out already. And as I mentioned, a couple of minutes ago, Amazon really kicked this off a bit early this year with, the introduction of the Prime Early Access sale in mid-October. And as you can see from this chart showing the conversions attributed to U.S. sponsored product ads for Amazon advertisers under Tinuiti management, our conversions soared far beyond what you might otherwise expect in the middle of October, were there not this Prime member event. And while it certainly didn't live up to the hype of something like Prime Day, it was still a meaningful driver of conversion growth. However, immediately after that event, we really did see that growth fall off for a time, and particularly in the last couple of weeks of October, we saw that conversion growth really suffer. And so, um, what we believe is that this event did pull some orders into the Prime Early Access sale that may have occurred later in the holiday shopping season. But from my point of view, I think a lot of that came from later in October as opposed to other key days throughout the holiday shopping season. Because as you can see from this chart, it really started to rebound. Conversion growth really started to rebound heading into November. And so, while the Prime Early Access sale did kind of consolidate some of those sales, it we heading into the key stretch from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, we didn't really expect it to really hurt those key days that much. And looking at the results from the last few days, I think we were right. Taking a look at the sales attributed to Amazon sponsored products, we certainly saw more muted sales growth in the early part of November, only up 7%. That dipped to 4% the week before Thanksgiving. But then as soon as consumers really started to hit the gas on taking advantage of good deals presented on Black Friday. We saw that sort of 29% on Black Friday, year over year growth, comparing this Black Friday to last Black Friday. And that only accelerated over the course of the weekend before peaking at 44% growth on Cyber Monday. And what's interesting is we saw a very similar trend play out on Google search ads, where Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales growth attributed to those Google search ads was far above early November levels. And so I think it's clear from this data that a lot of consumers were waiting for those deals, and waiting for the key stretch from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday to make those purchases. And brands that were aggressive during this time frame, I think, really saw the benefits of that. And also that, I think moving forward, I think this is something to keep in mind if Amazon does continue to throw something like an October Prime member event. It's important to keep this in mind, that that's not necessarily going to kill these other key days, so much as maybe consolidate orders that may have happened at other non-key moments. And I think another key trend that's played out over the last few days that was certainly welcome news from a lot of advertisers and a lot of different product categories was that across the digital landscape we've really seen ad pricing trend down compared to last year, as the competitive forces that have really ramped up how much advertisers had to spend for ad impressions and ad clicks have kind of started to soften. And you can see that here in our Amazon sponsored products year over year CPC growth. We started to see in Q3 that 6 out of the 13 major product categories that we keep a track of in our quarterly benchmark reports had already seen year-over-year declines in cost per click in Q3 2022, and that's continued into the holiday shopping season, where 8 of the 13 categories that we track saw declines in the cost per click on Cyber Monday for Amazon sponsored products. So certainly welcome news for advertisers that those competitive forces are starting to level out, and it's not just going to be an up and to the right scenario forever in terms of how much clicks cost. And even beyond Amazon, we see this playing out on a number of different other platforms. Particularly, Meta is a great example where over the course of the Cyber 5, CPM declined by at least 26% year over year every single day. Now that decline was a little bit softer on Cyber Monday than it was on Thanksgiving. So I think there are some indicators that those ad auctions started to get a little bit more competitive as we got towards the end of the Cyber 5, maybe slightly as a result of how good performance was over the course of that 5-day period, with consumers really getting out in force and making those purchases. So we may see that those declines get a little smaller throughout the rest of the holiday shopping season. But the point remains that while certainly 2021 in particular, a lot of advertisers across a lot of different platforms saw huge increases in cost per click, and kind of obviously a connection to their how much return on ad spend they could really generate. We've really seen that growth in cost per click and cost per impression soften over the last couple of quarters. And so taking this point to kind of turn our eye towards how the rest of the holiday shopping season will shake out, I think the key thing to consider here is not necessarily how the Cyber 5 from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday shook out this year, but looking at how the last 3 weeks of the holiday season performed last year. And so for this section, I'm really going to focus in on Amazon data because I think it really tells a very clean story of how consumers interact with ads over the course of the last few weeks of the year, and particularly for 2022. I think it's important to note that we expect this year to perform a lot more similarly to 2021 than what we saw in 2020. And one way that this is going to rear its head is, as you can see from this chart, back in 2020, there were a lot of fulfillment issues that led to much earlier shipping cutoff dates, in order for customers to order a product and then receive that product in time for Christmas Day. And that really weighed on the value of ad clicks in the third week of December back in 2020, because folks could no longer make purchases in that stretch and be fully confident that they would get them in time for December 25th. Now in 2021, most of those fulfillment issues had been resolved to the point where shipping cutoffs were a lot more similar to 2019 than they were in 2020. And so we saw that trend reverse itself entirely, where that sales per click, the value that advertisers are getting from those ad clicks, went right back up in that third week of December. And so, looking at how the next few weeks is going to play out, we expect it to be a lot more similar to 2021, and advertisers should expect that sales per click to remain strong through the end of the holiday shopping season and right up to those shipping cutoff dates a couple of days ahead of Christmas. Now, thinking about how that sales per click does typically trend and looking at 2021 as the best barometer of how we expect it to trend this year, certainly key days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we see the value of ad clicks really grow compared to an average day. And so, as you can see from this chart, on Black Friday, sales per click was 10% higher than the first half of November last year, and 13% higher on Cyber Monday than the first half of November. So certainly good reason to get more aggressive with bids and make sure you're as aggressive as you can be in getting in front of these customers, because the value of those ad clicks is so much greater. And after Cyber Monday, we did see that value per click fall off. But what's interesting is that over the next 3 weeks after that key day, you see it go right back up. And a couple of some of the days in the very end of the holiday shopping season rival Black Friday and Cyber Monday in terms of the value per click that our advertisers saw. And so, while the volume may not be quite as high during those days, the value of those ad clicks can rival these key days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And so, that's important to keep in mind when you're thinking about how aggressive you can be late in the holiday shopping season. And you should certainly take a look back at how your ads performed last year to better understand when you can really hit the gas and when you can get aggressive with bids on particular keywords, depending on how that sales per click has trended for you. And then also, certainly, to a good note when looking at this chart is that after that shipping cutoff date, you are going to see the sales per click attributed to those ads really fall off, as you can see here, down pretty significantly from first half of November. And so, it's also important to take a look at when those prime shipping cutoff dates are going to hit, and to then hit the brakes around that time, because you are going to experience, very likely going to experience a decline as consumers can no longer get those products in time for Christmas Day. And uh, you know, the value of ad clicks isn't just the directly attributed sales per click. There's also the notion of what kinds of customers you're reaching at different points in the year. And I think a great way to think about this is when we look at the new to brand share of sales attributed to sponsor brands. So those sales that are attributed to customers that have not purchased from your brand within the last 12 months. Uh, that share really peaked last year on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, as those are certainly great days to get in front of new customers and sell your products to folks who have not interacted with you before. And then it kind of comes back down to earth for a while before, interestingly, a very close third place day in terms of the highest new to brand share sale new to brand share of sales is December 21st, which again is right around that shipping cutoff date. As when you get really deep into the holiday shopping season, customers do seem more willing to purchase from brands that they may not have purchased from prior, and who are looking to make purchases quickly in order to get that stuff in time for the holiday shopping season. And so I think this is just another important trend to keep in mind when you're thinking about how aggressive you should be late in the holiday shopping season, is that not only is the value of advertising going to be high at that time, just looking at a pure sales per click level, but also when you bake in deeper insights like what kind of customers you're reaching, and are you getting net new customers who might provide a lot of value into the new year. Again, that late season push can be hugely important in terms of setting yourself up for a really solid 2023. And so, just important to, again, take a look at your data from last year and think about these things when you're establishing your ad strategy for the next few weeks. And that's it for me. And I think we still have time for a couple of minutes of Q&A if there's anything that folks in the audience want to ask.
Awesome. Well, Andy, thank you so much for that. I think really a great Q&A is just, if you wouldn't mind, like walking us through, like, what is a great Tinuiti brand for you guys, or really what brands do you work best with?
Sure. So we work with brands of all shapes and sizes, whether you're active on Walmart, Amazon, Criteo, Instacart, or all of the above. We have strong capabilities to help you promote your products and get your products in front of relevant customers. As we talked about earlier, we manage more than $3 billion in media under management across a number of different channels, not just marketplaces, but also paid social, paid search, streaming. And so there's a number of different ways that we can help you promote your products and make sure you stay relevant, through the end of 2022 as well as into 2023.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, Andy, again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate all your insight and all your knowledge. And if anyone wants to chat with Andy further, go ahead and head into the booth. And if not, please join us in our next session. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Carly.